What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the High PSI Performance YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is JD, and let's see what we got kicking around this week. So we've got the C6 vet that the balancer is kicked off of it. So we're getting it apart, make sure to see if there's any damage. If not, we're going to replace the balancer and put everything back on, get that car back together, get it out. From last week, our USS Hemi, got her on the dyno, got her warming up first thing this morning. We're gonna make a tug on that. And as I showed you guys last week, we've got Alfonso's back together. So now we can get trucking on putting everything back together and getting this twin turbo C5 running. Let's get this dyno pull done and see what else we got kicking around. I think we got a cam job dropping off this afternoon, so we'll see. Let's get after it. Anyways, so that pool was 440 horsepower, 505 foot-pounds of torque. Actually, guys, so what I wanted to clear up is all that smoke is actually from the exhaust. So when a motor blows, depending on how bad it blows, it puts a lot of oil and so forth into the exhaust, and once you put a new motor in, the first few times it gets hot. Depending on how much oil got in the exhaust system, that stuff will burn out when the exhaust gets hot. So as you can see, it's already calmed back down. It's slowly clearing out every time we make a pull. This is about the fourth pull that we've made on the car, and it's clearing out. But as far as power goes, it's making good power. Check that log over real quick. We'll make one more tug, but I think we got this one licked. Alright guys, as you can see by the balancer on the floor and that crank bolt, excuse me, right there, that does not look good. No es bueno. So this is an ARP bolt, so whenever whoever put the cam in this thing, they use an ARP bolt. However, I don't see any Loctite on the bolt or RTV, so that's most likely why I backed out. So let me get a light so we can take a look at the crankshaft on this Johnny. So it's not the worst thing that I have ever seen. I have seen worse. We're gonna get all this cleaned up, pop this front mainsail out, and then get out some calipers and check some clearances. As we move right along with our week, we are at a grinding halt with most of our projects. Not really, just mainly this one. So as I showed you guys already, the balancer on this one had backed off. It looks like everything's gonna live. However, we can't get a balancer. O'Reilly's, AutoZone, and the dealership, we're all waiting on them. So whoever wins the race on getting us a balancer first, we'll be able to get this car back together and get it off the lift. And we also need a power steering hose, like I talked about, because one of the hoses, the nut, was so boogered up we couldn't get it off without cutting it off, so we cut it off, and then that way we were able to save the rack. So we'll just get a new power steering hose, and then this one will go back together. In the meantime, Gio has gotten rock and rolling on our next cam job, which he's doing on the floor. Exciting. Gio doesn't mind it, although he should. So we are working on getting, oh, let me get this lightened up a little bit for you there. Gio's about to pull this side head. He's already got the other one off, and then we'll be working on getting the front cover off. This 5.7 liter Hemi is getting a 6.4 intake manifold swap on it while it's here. It's getting a Texas Speed Stage 2 camshaft, so that's exciting. And this is even more exciting, Alfonso's Corvette. I don't know if I already showed you guys, but put the two halves back together Since then, we have gotten all the suspension reattached. Everything's pretty much wrapped up in the back of the car, minus the exhaust system. I'm going through and I'm putting all of this stuff back together right now. Then we'll work on coolant, then we'll work on fuel. And then we got a few things to tidy up as far as the twin turbo setup is concerned. But the turbos are on, downpipes are on, oil feed line and return line are all done. So, got the steering reconnected and just reconnected all of the brake lines. So, hopefully, in the next week or two, you guys will hear Alfonso's C5 Corvette fire up on the first time with the twin turbos. You kind of see a little bit right here. Kind of. I'll raise the car up when we get a little bit closer so you guys can see the mid-mount turbo setup on this thing. Oh, Nala inspecting the camera. Gio has been diligently working on our cam car on the floor. And he has since got the heads off cam and phase limiter, all that happy stuff is already installed. He's working on putting the JBA long tubes back onto the cylinder heads that have their new valve springs on it. Also, our C6 is going all back together. We got the balancer for it this morning, so got a new balancer on there, fresh set of belts. The rack is back in, so just got to put the fan, the intake, and a few other small things back on there, and fire this Corvette up, get her on back to the customer. So as you guys can see, some things have moved around in the shop. Squirrel! Squirrel! We've got our C6 that came in for our harmonic balancer that checked out. All wrapped up and outside. Just finished taking her for a test drive. Purrs like a kitten. Chops down the block as it should. Make sure you check out our TikTok videos. What's that chop? See if you can guess. Got a ton of videos on there. And this will be our next victim as soon as we're done with the cam that we're doing now. That one's getting a Texas Speed Stage 2 cam. But let's roll back inside the shop. Check on Gio. So the cam job that he started on the ground, fortunately he was able to get it on the lift. Boom, there it is. Almost done, so stay tuned. We'll be chopping soon. And that guy over there making noise is Gio. Yeah, see him over there. What's he doing? What's he doing? What's he doing over there? Anyways, so to kick this week off, we've got our cam car from last week on the rolls, but we're not quite ready to make horsepower yet. So the headers, he's got some JBA headers, and they have a V-band flange connection. Both of his V-bands, both of his V-band connections were fucked. So we ordered him some new ones. They'll be in today, so we'll get that fixed. Notice he does not have an intake because he didn't have one. We did the 6.4 intake swap, but I will whip something up for him and we'll get it stuffed on the car, so that way when he leaves here he has an intake. And I believe that's it. We just got a few things to iron out on the car, and then we'll get it strapped down and get some tuning on it. In the meantime, while we're waiting on that, Gio is about to get rocking and rolling on this 300. So this is a... I fucking hate not knowing what year cars it is. What is it? It's a car. What year is it? I don't know. Manufacture date of 2014. It's the last of the Mohicans. They quit making them after this one in the States, because unfortunately they didn't grace us with the 8-speed versions of these, which I wish they did. Super dope looking cars. Anyway, so 2014 SRT8 Chrysler 300. This car already is equipped with a leg maker intake and a set of long tube headers. We are doing a Texas Speed Stage 2 cam. So Gio's going to get this thing up on the rack, drain the fluids, and start tearing this one down so we can get the cam in it. Also this week, hopefully, we will get a fire up on Alfonso's twin turbo Corvette, and we will get this one on the rack to get its ATI dampener on it. So guys, our exhaust clamps showed up, and boom! I had a 6.4 piece, so I was able to retain his factory airbox with the Hellcat mod, and then all I did was extend the IAT harness, and boom, we've got our intake set up on the car. And like I said, our clamps came in for our long tube, so got those on. So Gio's gonna get her strapped down on the rolls, and then we'll get to tuning, see what kind of power this 5.7 makes. Now, keep in mind, we did a 6.4 intake manifold swap on this one. We did the MMX lockout. So we do not have the intake runner valve control working on this car. So let's see what that does. So guys, as we move through this week, we had a very interesting car get dropped off for a tune yesterday afternoon. Boom. This 1960 El Camino. Very cool looking car. It's on air ride and it has a LS in it. So we're gonna dive into the ECU on this thing, see what we've got going on. It's got a big cam. I don't like that air intake at all, but I'll discuss that with the customer. It's my first time seeing the motor this morning. Popped the hood after I got it on the rolls. So, pretty neat stuff. Beautiful car. Love the color combo. Y'all know I'm a fan of purple. So we're gonna get rocking and rolling on this thing here in a second. And when Gio gets in, he's gonna get back on his 300 cam job, which I haven't filmed too much of this thing yesterday. He was rocking and rolling on it. The heads are already got the valve springs on them. We're actually got them flipped over right now, getting them all the surfaces cleaned up. But front cover is back on. Oh, let me get some light on this situation. A little bit. Front cover's back on. Cam's in this thing already. Lifters are in. The whole 9 yards. It is going back together. So maybe this afternoon or first thing tomorrow we'll hear this thing fire up. We're waiting on an open lift, but we got our ATI dampener for our C6 here, so that'll be hitting the lift soon. And Alfonso's car is slowly going back together as well. Got all the brakes reattached, all the brake lines, all the coolant lines. I actually got to make an adjustment to the starter. There's a few other things, but it's coming along. Little by little, it's coming along. So guys, I know you just witnessed the run, but I want to try a theory. As you can see, I have flipped the intake up and I removed this tiny little filter. Excuse me, this tiny little filter off the car. It's like trying to suck a golf ball through a garden hose. I don't think this filter is adequate. It's actually not adequate at all. So I pulled it off. I'm not going to make any tuning changes. I'm going to make another pull and we'll see what kind of power it makes. So, as I suspected, no tuning changes. Maybe take a peek. It's 18 horsepower. And a little bit of torque as well. So, that filter is definitely checking this motor out quite a bit. So I'm going to make a recommendation. I'm gonna leave it off the rest of this session and then make some recommendations to the customer. And then we'll see what filter it ends up with. That's how getting close. This one's almost wrapped up. So moving right along. Now that the 300 is not floating in the air any longer, you guys can see front cover's back on, new lifters are in, our head gaskets are on, and the heads are about to go back on the motor. As you can see, our 300 is all back together on the dyno, chopping down a block. Right now, it's bright outside. But that sounded good. We got it strapped down on the rolls. About to make our first couple of tugs, see where this thing ends up. Also, we got a GTO that dropped off for a tune as well today, so see if we can get to this one. It's got a little supercharger on it. So guys, as you seen yesterday afternoon, we made a tug on the GTO. Still got a few other small changes to make, and I'll show you what power it made. This car was already tuned. The customer added long tube headers, so he wanted it dialed in just a little bit more. So once we get that done, as you can hear, our shop dog is letting us know there's someone in the office. Fortunately, Ida's in there. Now let me quiet. So, on the chopping block early this morning. Hold on. Let me have a talk with Nala. Oh, blurriness. So I talked about it with Nala, and she decided that she was just gonna bark the whole time that I'm filming, cause she ain't got no scent. But anyways, this C7 is actually in this morning for a new front splitter, because the one that was on the car is cracked. No es bueno. So popped it up on the rack this morning, got the new splitter laid out. We're gonna go ahead and get it installed. And just like that, our new splitter is installed. Ooh, tire shine, Michelin. It is not the same as the other one. I did consult with the customer. He said go ahead and put this one on. So it is on, turned out all right. Hope he likes it. Go ahead and get this Batmobile on back to the customer.